Imagine this. You're in a room full of people, all working towards success. Some of them play by the rules, put in the effort, and stay true to their beliefs. Others lie, cheat, and step on anyone who gets in their way. Yet, it's often the people who are willing to be ruthless who make it the furthest. Why is that? Does it really seem like the world favors those who are willing to do whatever it takes, even if it's wrong? If you look at history, politics, or business, you'll see that there are many people who, despite not being kind or honest, have gained huge amounts of power. From cruel rulers to ruthless business leaders. The same story keeps playing out. But this isn't just bad luck. It's part of human nature, something built into our psychology and the way our society works. In a world where resources are limited, competition is bound to happen. People who take their time and always look for fairness often get left behind. Meanwhile, those who are willing to trick others, push them aside, and take what they want rise to the top. This tough truth makes us ask an uncomfortable question. Is being moral a weakness in the struggle for power? However, there's an interesting twist. While the worst people may often win in the short run, history is also full of examples of their eventual downfall. The real question isn't just why they succeed, but whether their victory can last. And perhaps more importantly, what does this mean for those of us who choose to stick to our values? Nietzsche believed that power is a natural force in life, something that isn't good or bad on its own, but just a part of existence. To understand why some of the worst people seem to succeed, we need to first understand what power really is. And to do that, we must explore one of Nietzsche's most debated ideas, the difference between master morality and slave morality. Let's go deeper. Imagine two warriors standing in the midst of a battle. One is strong, confident, and unafraid. He takes what he wants, shapes the world around him, and doesn't wait for permission. The other is unsure, looking for approval, wanting things to be fair, and hoping that the world will reward his goodness. Which of these two is more likely to survive? Which one is more likely to lead? Friedrich Nietzsche believed that morality isn't a universal truth, but something shaped by power struggles over time. He identified two main types of moral systems: master morality and slave morality. These aren't just ideas. They help explain why those who are ruthless often gain power, while those who focus on kindness and fairness might struggle. Master morality is the way of the strong, the leaders, and the conquerors. It values qualities like strength, bravery, ambition, and power. For those who follow master morality, what is good is anything that helps them grow stronger, create, and shape the world to fit their will. They don't need others' approval. They decide their own value. They take charge of their future and don't see weakness as something to protect. It's simply something to be conquered. Slave morality, on the other hand, belongs to those who are oppressed, weak, or unable to directly impose their will on others. Instead of praising strength, it values things like humility, obedience, and selflessness. It teaches that suffering is virtuous and that power is inherently bad. Nietzsche saw this as a moral system created by those who couldn't dominate, a mental way to cope with living in a world ruled by the powerful. But here's the hard truth. Slave morality doesn't stop the ruthless from rising. It actually helps them. By condemning ambition and looking down on the desire for power, it leaves power with those who don't care about morality at all. While those with good hearts hesitate, those who embrace master morality seize control. In a world where waiting or hesitating means losing, the outcome is clear. So what does this mean for us? Should we give up on morals entirely and follow the path of the ruthless? Or is there a way to balance strength with kindness? To understand this, we must explore the mindset of those who rise to power, the ones who refuse to let circumstances dictate their lives. Imagine a huge, wild landscape. In this world, surviving isn't about being fair or kind. It's about being strong, flexible, and ready to do whatever is necessary. The lion doesn't ask for permission to hunt. The storm doesn't apologize for causing damage. Nature doesn't care about right or wrong. It rewards those who can survive and those who can take charge. Human society, despite all our laws, rules, and agreements, is still driven by the same basic principles of survival that have been around for thousands of years. The environment may have changed, cities, technology, and the internet, but the fundamental struggle remains. People still compete for resources, power, and security. Whether it's in a workplace, a community, or on a larger scale, survival often comes down to one's ability to navigate challenges and rise above adversity. The world can feel like a constant battle, where only those who adapt and make quick decisions thrive. One thing that sets the individuals who gain power apart is their ability to act decisively. They don't let fear, hesitation, or second-guessing hold them back. They have a mental toughness that allows them to make tough calls, even when the stakes are high. It's not about being mean or ruthless, but about having the courage to take action when others might freeze or back away. These people understand that hesitation can be costly, and they've learned to trust their instincts and make decisions swiftly, without dwelling on the what-ifs. This mental strength is what allows them to navigate the unpredictable nature of life with confidence. They know that waiting for everything to be perfect or for all the answers to appear will only slow them down. Instead, they take calculated risks, knowing that even if they fail, they can learn and adjust. It's this ability to act without regret, understanding that sometimes action, even if imperfect, is better than doing nothing, that separates those who succeed from those who fall behind. In this way, they stay ahead in the ever-changing landscape of human society. This isn't random. It's part of how humans have evolved, a way to survive in a world that doesn't wait for those who hesitate. Psychologists have spent a lot of time looking at what makes some people successful in tough situations. Over and over, they find the same things: strong ambition, a lack of fear, and maybe most controversially, a reduced sense of care for those who get in the way. This doesn't mean all powerful people are bad, but it does mean that many have traits that help them act without being held back by the emotions that stop others. Think about the great leaders, business owners, and conquerors who changed the course of history. From Julius Caesar to today's successful entrepreneurs, one thing stands out. Waiting or hesitating can hold you back, while power is something you take, not something that is handed to you. The strong don't wait for permission to lead. They act boldly, take chances, and deal with the results later. This is why those who are tough and decisive often rise, while those who hesitate stay in the background. But here's the twist. Being ruthless alone isn't enough. Those who have power but lack wisdom often end up falling hard. The same qualities that help someone reach the top can also lead to their downfall. A leader who only rules with fear will eventually be overwhelmed by the same things they once controlled. History is full of rulers who thought they were unstoppable, until they weren't. So, if ruthless people often seize power, does that mean fairness and morality will always fail? Not exactly. But to understand why, we have to question one of the biggest beliefs in today's world, the idea that life is always fair. From the time we're young, we're taught a comforting idea that the world is fair, that good people get what they deserve, and that justice always wins in the end. Stories, religious teachings, and lessons about right and wrong all support this belief. But as we grow up, we face a tough truth. The hardest workers aren't always the richest, the most honest don't always become leaders, and the kindest people often face the most pain. This gap between what we're told and what we see isn't a mistake in the system, it is the system. The idea of fairness is in many ways something society made up, a story meant to keep things in order rather than match what actually happens. It's a comforting thought, but it's still just that, an illusion. Power and success aren't just given to the most deserving, they are fought for, grabbed, and often held tightly by those who understand how things really work. Psychologists have discovered something called the just world fallacy, the belief that life is naturally fair, and people always get what they deserve. This belief is risky because it makes us wait passively. If we think goodness alone will bring us success, we might miss the reality of competition, strategy, and power. While we wait for fairness, others who don't have our same beliefs are already moving ahead. But does this mean that being moral doesn't matter? Should we forget about our values in the race for power? Not exactly. The key is to understand how the world works, without letting it control you. Often, the people who struggle the most are those who think being nice will solve everything. But the ones who manage to combine honesty with clever thinking, who mix kindness with strength, are the ones who end up changing the game. Here's the truth. Fairness is not something that just happens. It's something we have to build. And to build it, we need power. Nietzsche believed that this challenge is a core part of being human. His solution wasn't to give in to the idea that life is fair or to become heartless. Instead, he pointed to something greater, a way to rise above both weakness and cruelty. To really understand this, we need to look at one of his most powerful ideas, the Übermensch, the person who goes beyond normal morality, beyond illusions, and beyond what limits others. Imagine standing at the edge of a great unknown. Behind you is the world as it is, full of unfairness, limits, and the weight of what everyone expects. In front of you is the unknown, a path only the brave dare to take. Most people will pause, held back by fear and uncertainty, but a few will take that step. These are the Übermenschen, the people who rise above the crowd, who create their own journey, who change what power means based on their own values. Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, or overman, is not about being stronger than others or controlling them. It's about surpassing one's own limits. The Übermensch is someone who refuses to let circumstances control them, who questions the rules that society imposes, and who takes charge of their own future instead of just fitting into the mold others expect. At the core of the Übermensch is the will to power. Unlike the passive morality of following rules out of guilt or submission, the will to power is about embracing one's inner desires, to create, to change, to bring purpose to a world that might seem meaningless. It's not about controlling others, but mastering oneself. While those who are weak are held back by fear, the Übermensch moves forward, free from the illusion society has built. But here's the important part. The Übermensch is not cruel just for the sake of cruelty. Unlike rulers who act out of insecurity and try to control others, the Übermensch doesn't need approval from anyone. Their strength comes from within themselves. They don't rely on trickery or pushing others down because their power is self-made, unaffected by outside judgment or temporary success. This is why those who act in the worst ways may gain power, but they will never truly rise above it. The ruthless play a short-term game, using trickery and force to climb. But the Übermensch plays an endless game, creating something bigger than themselves. They are makers, not just people who take. The key to thriving in a world that rewards ruthlessness isn't about becoming ruthless yourself, but about understanding power in a different way. Power doesn't have to mean domination or exploitation. Instead, it can be a tool for growth, for building your own path, and for creating positive change. When you understand how to use power wisely, you can protect your values, influence the world around you, and make decisions that benefit both yourself and others. The true strength lies not in using power to hurt others, but in using it to lift yourself up while remaining true to your principles. Now, in a world where kindness doesn't always win, it's important to find ways to compete without compromising who you are. Think of it like being in a high-stakes game, where the rules are set by those who will do anything to win. If you hesitate, if you rely too much on fairness, you risk losing. This is the reality many face in business, politics, and life. The ruthless know this well. They act quickly, they seize opportunities, and they take what they want. But does this mean you have to act like them to make it? Not really. The mistake most people make is thinking they only have two choices: be ruthless or be a victim. But there is a third way, one that combines smart thinking with staying true to yourself, one that lets you compete without losing your values. Nietzsche's philosophy wasn't about blind control. It was about overcoming weakness while staying real. The key is understanding power without letting it control you. Here's how. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that life should be fair. It's not. It never has been. The strongest competitors understand this early. They don't waste time complaining about unfairness. They learn how things work and use that knowledge to get ahead. This doesn't mean abandoning your morals. It means realizing that power is neutral, and those who understand how to use it are the most successful. Many people fail because they think kindness alone will bring them success. But power is hardly ever given. It has to be taken. That doesn't mean you need to be cruel, but it does mean you need to understand the thinking of those who might try to take advantage of you. Strategic empathy involves understanding people deeply, recognizing what drives them, and predicting their actions. It helps you handle lies without having to lie yourself. Many people are driven by fear of failing, fear of being left out, or fear of standing alone. But the Übermensch builds inner strength. This means facing discomfort, taking chances, and creating your own way forward even when others resist. The most successful people don't wait for permission. They make their own chances when there seem to be none. There's a difference between thoughtless cruelty and controlled decisiveness. The first is just causing harm for no reason. The second is having the strength to make tough choices without doubt. Power doesn't always look like grand gestures or forceful control. Sometimes true power is quiet and subtle. It's the strength to walk away from relationships that are draining or toxic, even when it's uncomfortable. It's making choices that may disappoint others, but are necessary for your own well-being and growth. It's facing hard truths about yourself, your life, or the people around you that you'd rather avoid. This kind of power isn't about being harsh or unkind. Instead, it's about recognizing your worth and having the courage to protect your peace. Knowing when and how to use your strength is what sets you apart. It's the ability to act with conviction, even if it means going against the grain or standing alone. The ruthless may rise to the top quickly, but their power is often shallow and unstable. They get ahead by stepping on others or taking shortcuts, but eventually that foundation crumbles. Why? Because their power is based on exploiting others, not creating something meaningful. The true Ubermensch, in contrast, understands that power isn't just about gaining control. It's about creating something lasting and meaningful. Whether it's building a business from the ground up, developing a groundbreaking idea, or cultivating self-mastery, the true creator is focused on long-term impact. This kind of power is sustainable because it's based on contribution and growth, not manipulation. The real strength lies in what you can build, whether it's something external or the person you become in the process. When you create something valuable, you become essential. You don't need to manipulate others because your power comes from what you've earned, not what you've taken. So is it possible to succeed in a world that rewards the ruthless? Definitely, but only if you stop following the old ways. Stop waiting for fairness and start mastering power on your own terms. This brings us to the big question. Is power itself bad, or is it simply misunderstood? Power. It's the force that shapes everything, influencing the lives of those who hold it and those who are affected by it. But is power truly evil? Nietzsche saw power as a driving force for personal growth, not as a tool for domination. For him, power wasn't about imposing control over others or bending them to your will. Instead, it was about pushing beyond your own limits, breaking free from self-imposed boundaries, and transforming into something far greater than you thought you could be. Power, in Nietzsche's eyes, is the energy that fuels self-overcoming. The power to become the best version of yourself, to continually evolve and transcend what you once were. It's not about winning or defeating others. It's about conquering your own fears, doubts, and weaknesses. This desire for power, when understood correctly, isn't selfish or harmful. It's a natural part of human life, the urge to expand and explore your potential. Nietzsche encourages us to embrace this desire, not to fight against it. He believed that by seeking personal growth and pushing ourselves to be more than we are today, we are engaging in a higher kind of power, one that's rooted in self-mastery, creativity, and the drive to continually evolve. It's a power that seeks not to control, but to create. Instead of thinking of power as something external, Nietzsche invites us to view it as an internal force, one that empowers us to shape our own destiny and rise to challenges we once thought impossible. However, history shows that power often leads to corruption. Many leaders, once they gain power, fall into the traps of pride, greed, and cruelty. This creates a question. Is power bad, or does it just reveal the darker sides of human nature? Nietzsche believed that true power, in its purest form, isn't about hurting others. It's about pushing yourself to become better, aiming for greatness, and building new values, rather than just following the rules set by society. Society's sense of right and wrong often makes power appear to be corrupt. In a world that celebrates goodness, someone who pursues power is often seen with doubt. But what if this view is wrong? What if, by rejecting traditional values and creating your own rules, you are simply living in the truest way? Raw, authentic, and unapologetic? Nietzsche didn't see the desire for power as simply wanting control over others. It was more of an inner force, a drive to experience life to its fullest and to push the limits of what you can achieve. From this perspective, power becomes a moral journey, one that encourages you to break free from society's expectations and shape your life on your own terms. But does this mean that everyone who seeks power is good? Not necessarily. The pursuit of power can lead to two very different outcomes. It can either lead to growth or to downfall. What makes the difference is the reason behind it. Is the goal to control others, or is it about overcoming yourself, creating a life that aligns with your highest ideals? So is power bad? Not in itself. Power is often misunderstood. People tend to see it as something dangerous, something that corrupts or leads to harm. But power, at its core, is simply a tool, like a hammer or a brush. It's how we choose to wield it that determines its impact. When someone with strong values, integrity, and a sense of purpose holds power, it can lead to incredible achievements. Think of great leaders who have used their influence to create positive change, to inspire others, and to build things that last. On the other hand, when power is used selfishly, to manipulate or control others, it reveals a darker side of human nature: greed, cruelty, and the desire to dominate. The same tool can be used to uplift or destroy, depending on the person holding it. Nietzsche challenges us to rethink our relationship with power. Instead of fearing it, he suggests we should seek to master it. Power, when used wisely, isn't something that corrupts us, but something we can shape and mold. By developing discipline, strength, and a deep commitment to constant self-improvement, we can learn to wield power in a way that aligns with our highest ideals. Rather than letting power control us, we can take control of it, using it to become better versions of ourselves each day. It's not about seeking power for its own sake, but about understanding that with power comes responsibility and the opportunity to make a difference in the world. If this discussion about power and success has made you reflect, challenged your beliefs, or sparked a new curiosity about life and philosophy, don't forget to like, share this video with others who might need to hear it, and stay tuned for more new content every day. Let's keep moving forward on this journey of understanding, growth, and creating a stronger, more empowered life.